Hey everybody, welcome to BrickVault. Today in front of us I get to present to you the Droid Gunship. It in fact goes by several different names. Some people call it the Separatist Gunship, the HMP Gunship, that stands for Heavy Missile Platform, or the HMP Predator. Call it what you want. At the end of the day, this might actually be one of the single most effective weapons ever produced by the Separatists. In this episode, I'm going to be talking a lot more in detail about the history of this ship and the specific details of this custom build. But before I go any further, first I want to say that if you wanted to build this custom model for yourself, the instructions can be found at our web store, www.brickvault.toys, designed by Thomas Jenkins. It is an extremely high quality model, structure tested for durability, part tested for rarity, and built to minifigure scale so it matches up with the rest of the Star Wars ships up in the web store. With each purchase comes the PDF step-by-step building guide, as well as a digital parts list for quickly uploading and ordering the pieces you're going to need online so you can get the pieces for yourself. And also, on top of that, Thomas was good enough to provide an alternate version of this gunship model. There's a few pieces in this version that are a little less rare than the model that I'm showing you in the video today. And remember, buying instructions is always a great way to help support what we do here at the channel, as well as the extremely talented designers that we work with from all over the world, just like Thomas. So with all that, let's now take a closer look at the Droid Gunship. It has so many weapons. The front face has two pairs of dual medium laser cannons. The larger one in the center is also labeled as a medium laser cannon, though it's just a heavier version of one. On either side of the underbelly, there are rocket pods. Depending on the situation, they could be outfitted with different types of rockets or missiles, and the same goes for the cannons on the outside. There's a light laser cannon plus what could be replaced with a missile or some other type of weapon or disturbance. This makes it one of the most heavily armed single vehicles, and for its size and weight, definitely the most heavily armed vehicle, I think, in the entire Star Wars universe. I did a bit of research on that. I'm like 95% sure that that is the case. And before I forget, on top of that, it can hold on to 12 super battle droids for deploying into combat. It's immune to light laser blasts, and pretty much every time you see this thing in a combat situation, it's either wreaking havoc or at least putting up a fairly good fight. When it comes to the custom Lego build here, there are some design choices made by Thomas that I think really capture some excellent angles. Number one, let's focus straight away on the head. Tom managed to capture the mean-looking angry eyes very well here. The building here is quite subtle, and the interconnections are extremely intricate, but what you have now is a very smooth look for the front faceplate, and the domed joints for the dual medium laser cannons on either side have been closed at the seam by those dark bluish gray wheel well pieces. That matches up wonderfully with some slopes, which when built back towards the neck practically melt into the rest of the model. Those small clipped on little tooth or hook pieces right at the front by the center laser cannon are a detail that I didn't normally focus on, or at least notice when watching the show, but I don't know how Thomas did it. The face here just looks so incredibly clean. For many watching right now, you'll understand the acronym SNOT. This is a great example of the SNOT technique, studs not on top. But honestly, it's just more than that. I don't think it was Thomas's intention to just not have studs showing, but instead use the bricks to the best of their advantage by changing the angles and creating shapes that just look more accurate and draw out a more recognizable and interesting looking piece. Now, following that same idea or stylistic thread, when we move to the large dome of the body on top, you'll see that it's been made with that relatively old quarter dome piece, and it's just about one of the only ways you can get such a uniform, smooth look for the top of the Droid Gunship, and that really is the case when you look at models of it in universe. Without a hitch, it slowly dips down a little bit in the center. There's a dish piece that's been turned upside down, some nice flexi tubes that outline it, and then you have the small wings that fold open on either side. And I'd like to show you what the bottoms of those look like in just a second, but first let me just show you the back of the gunship very quickly. The 1x1 round plates in trans orange are all loosely, but not too loosely, stacked together, and they arc slightly. That, of course, is a building technique that wouldn't be considered quite legal for a Lego set necessarily, but when wedged together in this configuration, it's still very strong, and honestly, it looks pretty darn cool. But now, though, it is time to take this thing off of the stand and show you guys the underside of the ship, because in a lot of ways, it almost feels like more detailed. Number one, you can see how Thomas in general managed to get those slopes to all match up along the outer edge of the dome. The underside of the studs for the wings on either side of the ship are covered up mostly by those 2x2 hinge pieces. Even the bottom of the head is mostly smooth, which is, I think, probably one of the more impressive parts. Even the bottom of the head just looks so detailed. Most, if not all, of the dome here has been built with bricks on their sides to keep it pretty much smooth all the way through, and then you'll see some wedge plates in towards the center. And then also in the very center, you'll see that's a technique Thomas really likes using, where he uses really small hinged doors and the handles wedged into studs on the bottom. That makes up those little light bluish gray rectangles right in the middle. In my opinion, this is where the excellence of custom building really pops, and it's what truly separates a model like this from something that might come from an official set. Now, without too much playing around, you can switch out some of these bottom pieces here and add 2 full rows of 6 on either side, and now the Droid Gunship is fully equipped with a platoon or a squadron of super battle droids. They stay on decently well. It's not like a super robust connection. If you pull on them too hard, they will break away. But it is a certainly impressive feat nonetheless. The connection for these droids attached at the bottom is done in a way to keep this universe seamless. We don't have weird discolored Technic connection points or something that feels a little bit out of place or like it doesn't actually fit within the full context of this model. You'll notice that the gunship can stand up on its own or be supported by the super battle droids. Normally, it's pretty darn necessary for this model to be held up by a stand because the bottom isn't totally flat, or I should say the head hangs a lot lower than the main flat part of the body. And that, of course, can make it a little bit difficult to just set straight down onto a table. And now I suppose I feel like I've gone through most of the basic design features of this particular custom build. Let's get into the handling section of this model, where I show you guys how robust or how delicate a model could be in universe. And honestly, this one feels pretty darn good when it comes to picking this thing up. Obviously, handling it from any flat point on the underside of the belly is the best way to go. The big flat round dome shape pieces on the body are also just as robust as they look, so you can hold it one-handed from either side or the back. And then let me show you all the pieces that move around intentionally. The big medium cannon in the front goes up and down. Those claw or tooth pieces on either side can pivot ever so slightly. The dual medium cannons on either side of the head also can go up and down and rotate. Same thing goes for the missile pods on either side. And there are 2 points of articulation when it comes to the wings on either side. Anything that looks thin and delicate probably is, so you can of course break off the dual medium cannons sort of easily. You know, you can pull them away from those little ice skate pieces. These little blue modules towards the front have posability, even though they technically shouldn't be like moving around. You can twist them from side to side. They should be facing vertical at all times. And I wouldn't say the head is delicate at any point, but this is definitely not the part of the model that you want to pick it up by. There's a lot of interesting and compact angular connections on the inside, so it is just a place that is closest to a no touchy spot compared to the rest of the model. But since I've had it in my hands and doing this entire video, I haven't had any breaks really. It's been pretty solid to handle. It can take a little bit of time altering the model between having droids on the bottom or no droids, and that really is it when it comes to the physical form of this actually existing as a model in your house or in your studio or in your office or whatever. So anyways, guys, that is about it. That's about everything I got to say about this Separatist Droid Gunship. It really does look excellent when set up with some of the other models that have the same Separatist colors. And if you did want to build this for yourself, the instructions can be found at our web store, www.brickvault.toys. Like always, let me know what types of models you'd like to see in the future. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time at BrickVault.